Hi and welcome to Tweet Street. I'm Mick Tiffany and I'm a novice lizard canary keeper and breeder. Join me on my journey as I strive to breed birds good enough for the show bench. Welcome back everybody to Tweet Street. This is episode 23. In this episode we're going to be having a look at the update of the birds, how they've been getting on, most of which have finished their sort of breeding. I've had a bit of a move around, and the Napoleon weaver, he's been through his molt, now he's looking pretty good. And hand feeding, it's absolutely, as you can see, for me it's effortless. Right. It's a walk in the park. Of course, never is. Okay, so what's been happening during the week? Weather-wise, it's been hot. It's up to 30 degrees, which for the UK is quite hot. I did blink and nearly miss it, but yeah, that's pretty much summer. It's just a bit chillier now, dropped to another 10 degrees. Hasn't seemed to upset the birds, probably made it a bit more comfortable. Out in the garden, as you can see, olive branch birds, might have to change its name to branch birds if this pigeon keeps eating the olives again. It's done it for the last 2 years and it's making amends and carrying on this year. Earlier in the week, I went to visit stepson. He had a little visitor in his garden. Lovely to see the old fox. I'll take my better camera next time I go and see him because it just sits there quite tame. Novak Cam, the gentleman that brought me a camera last week. I was trying to get some birds drinking out of the pond. This is the best you've got, is the fish waiting for the birds to drink out of the pond. Every time we landed on the side, by the time I pressed record, they were gone, unfortunately. But what we did have in the aviary was the Napoleon weaver, and he's looking superb. It's just really sad that there's no shows this time of the year that I can put him into. Both him and his young lady look in really good condition. He's the one that's changed all his feathers to make himself look very nice for his young lady. I'll keep an eye and see if they do anything breeding wise. I'm not looking at these breeding. They may not, I don't know. But it's lovely to see. You can see he sings away quite happily, fluffs himself up into a big ball, constantly does this, little sort of ritual I expect. And yeah, but he's looking really good, and it's really nice to see. So the birds in the aviary are quite busy. I've been making plenty of egg food for the birds. All birds are getting this. Managed to get some corn on the cobs, so just chopping them up just to put them into the mix as well. I am splitting the birds, so we've got some that are having the red dye and some that aren't. There'll be 12 chicks being fed the red pigment, lizard canary chicks, and we'll see what they come out like after the molt. The rest won't have the red put in, and we'll just have plain egg food and plain water, without the additive, and we'll see the difference between the natural lizard canaries and the coloured ones. So that'll be quite nice just to see the difference. Also, like I say, when it comes to competition time, there are different sections, and some of the sections are for coloured canaries, even though the silver's gold, and the same silver and gold in the natural sections as well. So it gives me a bit more of a bit more scope, and it'll be interesting to see which ones look the nicest. The colour fed look nicer, or the naturals, see what people prefer. I've always colour fed them up to date, so for me this will be a new thing to see the difference. So it'll be very interesting, and we can gauge what's happening then and see what happens for the future. So yeah, quite enjoying to see what's going to happen. And now we're going to be looking at me feeding some littens. Right, so as you're aware, I've been attempting at least to hand feed the 3 chicks whose parents sadly passed away. It's been quite enjoyable to do. It does. It's a little time consuming, not majorly, but obviously you're feeding 3 young lives, and you need to be around to do so. Once you get them used to feeding and they're comfortable with you, as you can see, once the cage doors open, they tend to think, "All right, here comes food." So they jump on your hand and they'll start eating. It's much easier if you can get them perched on your hand or your finger in a line, as you can see, and just give them a little bit of food each. Now at this point they're still just having the food fed to them from the syringe, but really wanted to get them onto feeding for themselves and get them onto some egg food, and then from the egg food onto some more seed-based type food, which I'm sure they will. I was toying with the idea of putting another bird in with them, but I didn't know if that might be a problem, especially if it is an adult bird. It could cause a problem with them pecking, and if it's another younger bird, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't want to trial it really, so I thought I'll just maintain trying to do it myself and see how things go. Like I say, it is an enjoyable thing to see. We normally only see our birds through the bars of a cage, and they get a bit skittish sometimes. And they do a lot of movement around, and they're not keen on us, even though we give them water and food. They tend to keep distance. But of course, when you've got them like this and they're at that age, they don't know any different. Your mum and you are dad, so it's been really nice to do. So yeah, I'm quite glad I've done it. I would do it again, of course, because you can't just leave them to die. Obviously, you want to keep these little guys going. So that's me feeding them on that batch. Now, it was important that to understand that. I did have a question on this, which I answered online. How often and how much do you feed? I probably go in once every couple of 3 hours. The instructions on the mix say make sure that the crops are empty before you give more food. So it's important to understand that you need to empty the crops before you not just keep topping them up, throwing food to make sure they're full. You don't want to introduce any digestive issues. So I like to make sure, and they haven't got a massive amount of feather underneath, so you can blow on them and have a little look, and you'll soon see if there's any food in the crop. So this is me. I've just mixed up a bit of the hand rearing food with a bit of egg food. It's got the pink tinge to it because it had a bit of the colour in there, which they won't be fed anymore, the colour. But this is a mixture of the egg food and the hand rearing food, and I'll put it on the spoon because we were trying to make sure that they would start pecking for themselves to get them from being syringe fed off to them feeding for themselves, looking after themselves. Which it took a little bit of doing, as you can see. Once they're out, they think, "Oh, my minute, this is playtime. I'm quite enjoying this." And off around the bird room they go. Now, some of this has been sped up. This is all one clip, but some parts have been sped up because they were flying around and they were landing on some various different places in the aviary. Of course, here's one on my shoulder, there's a couple flying around, which is great. They're getting a bit of exercise, don't mind it. But the idea was to be eating seed, or food rather, not just seed. But of course, for them it's playtime. They're having a great time flying around. They think it's a little bit of freedom. So, yeah, again, this little bit's just sped up. It's about 4 metres long, so they're getting a bit of, they're going from one to the other. They're not sitting still, as kids wouldn't be. They're sort of more getting into their teenage years at the moment, but are still awkward with food. Now, this one thought he'd got a beach ball for his birthday, and he's going to sit on it and play with it. Not the desired effect when I was trying to hand feed the birds. Okay, this is not the recommended way to do hand feeding birds. And as you can hear me say, you know, you crap on my head, you see what you get. Not that I haven't been crapped on a lot me last time, but it's a bit different with these little fellas, I suppose. But there they go, they always come back for the food, which they're obviously enjoying, and they're woofing it all down. Now, I am altering the mix, like I say, putting more of the egg food in, so it's a bit more substance in the food, and I'm putting that in other containers for them to feed themselves. So as I speak now, which is Sunday, they are just taking it out of finger feeders themselves. Like I say, I'm mixing this with the egg food. They are pecking at the egg food as well on their own, which is a good sign. I shall put a bit of blue more, very tiny seed in the bottom, to see if I can get them to pick up some of that smaller seed, and to get them over to the seed slowly. But once they are a bit more independent flight wise, I could probably may introduce one of the other youngsters in there to just show them, you know, where the seed is, how to eat it, and that kind of thing. As you can see on this clip, they're just taking the food off of the spoon or the bowl. This is my good lady's video that she took while I was at work, and she tends to have those little duties while I'm at work. God bless her little heart. And obviously the camera work's not as prestigious as my own, but don't tell her that, she won't be listening. She won't watch this either, so I'll be fine. But if you do see me with the black eyes and bleeding coming from my nose next time, she has watched the episode. So yeah, there we go. So it's slowly getting them over to, you know, to fend for themselves a little bit more. It's a bit of a slower process than normal. By now at this age, if they're really the adult birds, they'd be pecking at seeds and things like that. The adult birds still every now and then would go back and feed them a little bit, and but they certainly wouldn't be on any mushy food like they're eating. They'd be on the egg food, and they'd be on a bit of seed by now. It's just one of the ways. It takes a little bit longer, but it was great fun doing what I was doing, so I was really enjoying that. I've just got another clip just coming up now, feeding themselves a little bit more. It's just a slow process. Like I say, you know, they're getting some nice feathering on them. The tail feathers, as you can see, are growing very nicely as well. We'll have to see how these compare when they get a bit older. But so I've got some of the tubs there. You can see the finger tub on the left, that's just got egg food in, and then the twin tub that they're eating from now has got a little bit of hand food mixed with egg food, which they're preferring first. Obviously they've got that taste, and they also have the option of the egg food, but because they're inquisitors anyway, they will have a little peck round. I've got another little finger tub there on the left hand side with some seeds in. Now that was level flat with the top, so they've obviously taken some of the smaller blue more and smaller seeds, so it's not like they're ignoring that in total. Okay, we'll have a little quick look around what's happened in the bird room this week. I've mainly moved a few of the younger birds around that I'm going to colour feed, so they're all in their own individual cages now. There's 12 of them, the first 12 that were hatched and reared. So they're all been settled in their own little cages. They're going to have their colour feed and their food. There's the 3 guys that have been hand feeding, and you can see they're on their double mix. There's another one of the younger ones. I shall move those chicks, the 3 underneath, and there's 4 more above here now. I'll move them to different cages soon, so all that bank over there will be single birds on their own. They're easier to control. Ones are being colour fed in one area and some in another. You might be wondering what the hell is a fife doing there. My mate Bobby came over and asked me to look after 2 fifes a couple of weeks ago. They're still here. That one there you're looking at, she has 2 hatched this morning, which is brilliant. 2 out of the 2 I was expecting. There's another 5 that Bobby's just asked me to look after on a more permanent basis by the looks of it. These 2 guys are doing okay in their nest as well. So they'll be jumping out any day now. There's the Razas doing really well. Got 3 lovely chicks in there. As you can see, the chicks are feeding on the egg food themselves as well. Beautiful little birds. Really do like them little Razas. They're quite a busy little bird. Just such tiny little things. That's just a little cedar, and it's big enough to make home. Right, that's another one of the younger ones, just sitting there, bored. Obviously, they're going to be, like I say, I'll try to get a look at the legs, see how dark they were, but the canvas works not the best, but the legs are quite dark still. Still getting a couple of polygonal leaves each day, and we'll see how that comes through. And it's certainly, I think, getting darker anyway. There's one of the other young ones as well, a little bit more active. These guys at the top, that's Dad and that's Junior. Junior's getting on quite well. So he won't be colour fed, so he's going to go into a section that won't be colour fed, and we'll see what he looks like as a natural young unflighted bird shortly. Again, these guys won't be colour fed either. There's 3 chicks. They're all hopping around down the sticks. A little bit early, to be honest. They're not really the right size to be hopping around, but every time I put them back in the nest they jump out. So parents are looking after them, so that's it. That's a spare adult cockbird. This is the pair of Razas. They've got 4 chicks in there. They're raising them chicks themselves very well. So yeah, that's actually going quite well. And then we've got a bank of 3 young ones that are being colour fed. Like I say, these ones I want over the other side at some point shortly, so I can keep an eye on them a little bit easier. Just so I've got a whole bank of colour fed, then another bank of birds that will not be colour fed. Just makes it a bit easier. And these are the 3 girls that and 1 boy that were all together. They're now outside. Now, one of those was Mariah Carey bird, and Mariah Carey bird has just laid an egg out there in a nest pan, so which is fine. She wanted to. The other 2 weren't bothered, but she really wanted to go down again. So we'll see what happens where the nest pan is. It could be singled off, and we'll see. They'll be quite late. I won't plan it on anymore, but being she started laying, we'll see what happens. And we'll give them a little shot outside. Yeah, so that's it for this week. Sorry it's a bit short and sweet. Glastonbury's been on the telly, so I love my music. I've been hammering into that. England have been playing football, so my blood pressure's just gone out the window. How they're still in the competition, I have no idea. But there you go. It's one of the fun things, isn't it? Crikey. And you thought breeding canaries was hard to do. Right, take care, everybody. Have a great week. Hope your birds are doing well. Hope you're having a good, successful time. And we'll chat soon. See you shortly. Bye-bye.